Hello. Hi, Rahul. Good morning. Good morning, Rahul.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, let's wait for other people to join.
Sure.
Hmm. Maybe as this is a first class, you're DA batch, right, Rahul?
Yes, I'm DA batch.
Okay, fine. So, what are the subjects that we have covered?
So till now we have completed Excel and Power BI.
Mhm.
Now this is third one, SQL.
Okay.
So I had a doubt. Can I ask?
Yeah, yes, please.
So actually I'm confused with this MySQL, SQL Server and normal SQL.
Yeah,
So
like lot many people confuses on this. Even experience also confuses on this. Okay, what is SQL server? What is SQL? What is MySQL? What is TSQL? What is PostgreSQL? Okay, so I'll be discussing all the concepts in a greater detail in our classes. Okay,
okay, sure.
that's what like every student, every even experienced people also confuses on this. Okay, in the
Okay.
coming up next 3 hours, you'll be clarifying, you'll be understanding all the concepts and terms. Okay, in a very great detail.
Okay, thank you.
How many students are there in DA batch, Rahul?
So total would be like 4 to 5 people, but offline classes only 2 people will attend.
Okay.
So we are from offline batch. We used to go to institute.
Okay. So I think normally online batch only.
Okay. So even in group, there are 4 to 5 people, almost 9 people in group.
Okay. Okay, friends, so let's start. Let's not wait anymore.
Okay.
Okay. I welcome to SQL Server classes, Rahul and all.
Thank you.
So before starting our session, so let me introduce myself. I am Madhusudan Rao. I have 15 plus years of experience in IT industry. So where my work includes working with multiple RDBMS softwares like SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, Redshift, and the Azure database. And coming to teaching experience, I have 5 plus years of teaching experience. I'm associated with one of the top institute in Hyderabad, and also I'm associated with the another institute, one of the top institute in Hyderabad, that is DataSkills. And so this is my teaching experience. The way I teach SQL Server database, Oracle databases. So in this session, so we'll be understanding about what is SQL Server means. It is a course which is related to developers. That is what the developers will do. Okay, so when you're working with the database softwares, the different people plays the different role. Some people play as a database administrator role. Some people play as a database developer role, and some people play the role as database designers. Database designers are the people who designs the database. That is, who understands the client's requirement. And the output of that will be used by the developers to actually implement the structures and work with different database objects for populating the data, for getting the data from the system. And the database administrators are the people who maintains the data, whatever we have created, whatever the developers have created, whatever the data that is there inside the database, administrators will maintain all the data by taking regular backups, by giving permissions to the users, by creating new login IDs, okay, and in restoring of the data. But in our course, we'll be understanding the developer-oriented course. So the agenda of this session is, in this session, we'll be understanding what is SQL Server, what is actually the database means and the data means. And we'll be understanding file processing system and its disadvantages. And we'll be understanding what is DBMS, the different types of DBMS, what is RDBMS, and what are relational databases. And the different RDBMS software available in the market. As you have asked, like the difference is, what is MySQL and what is SQL? We'll be understanding, and we'll be understanding all the concepts. First, in order to learn any subject, we need to clear with the terms that are used. We could able to differentiate. We should able to differentiate what is meant by DBMS, what is meant by RDBMS, what is SQL Server, what is SQL, and what is TSQL. And we'll be understanding the different commands that are there in this language. So this is a topic for today's class. Okay. So what is SQL Server means? So first, we are here to learn about the database. We are here to learn about the database. That is, SQL Server database. So this is a software. SQL Server is nothing but it is a software. For example, Excel is a software. Notepad is a software. Similarly, SQL Server is also a software. So what type of software it is? It is a RDBMS software. It is a type of RDBMS, but don't worry about what is meant by RDBMS at the very early stage. So don't worry. Okay, in the coming up next 1 hour, you'll be understanding what is RDBMS. But as of now, so just understand that SQL Server is a type of RDBMS software, which is a product of Microsoft. So which is developed in 1989 with the first release as, with the first version as SQL Server 1.0. And why Microsoft has developed this software? What is the purpose of developing this software by Microsoft? So in order to store our company's data, SQL Server is a software which helps us in storing our data. In very, very simple words, SQL Server allows us to store our data. For example, if I want to store my data, I can store the data in Excel. If I want to store the data, I can store the data in Notepad. Similarly, SQL Server is also a software, okay, which allows us to store our data. That is, it helps in creating the databases, it helps in maintaining the databases, and also it helps in getting the data from the database as and when we request and whichever format we wanted. So the main purpose of SQL Server is to store the data by creating the databases, retrieving the database, retrieving the data from the databases, and also it maintains the data. So this is a software which understands the language called TSQL. And also, this software also can understand standard SQL also. There is, in order to communicate with this software, we need to speak in a language called TSQL. So for example, if you want to communicate to a person who understands Hindi, we need to speak in a language called Hindi. For example, if you want to communicate to a person who understands Urdu, we need to speak in a language called Urdu. For example, if you want to communicate to a person who understands French, we need to speak in a language called French. Similarly, in order to speak to the SQL Server database engine, in order to communicate or in order to communicate with SQL Server understands the language called TSQL. That means in order to communicate with this software, we need to speak in a language called TSQL. So you might have heard the word SQL. So what is SQL and what is TSQL? It is very, very important to differentiate between these two. Okay, don't worry. So we'll be understanding. Okay, so in the coming up next hour, okay, so we'll be understanding all the concepts in a greater detail. Now, okay, so this is the this is what we'll be going to discuss in our classes. SQL Server, we'll be working with the SQL Server software in order to store our data. Because without data, there is nothing. Without data, there is nothing. Every company depends on the data. For example, if you want to generate the reports, okay, so without data, okay, so we cannot generate the report. There is no Power BI, there is no .NET application, there is no Java application, there is no computer application at all. Database plays a very critical role in every computer applications. Data plays a very important role. Plays a very critical role. Based on the data, the company will analyze the data with the help of various reporting tools like Tableau, Power BI, MSBI projects, and all that. Data plays a very important role. Without understanding the database, so we cannot work with any computer application. So now what is a database? Before understanding what is a database, let's understand what actually the data means. This data is nothing but, okay, so it's a fact of information. Data is nothing but, it is a fact of information related to any particular object. It's a fact. There is, for example, person object. If you consider person object, okay, so employee is an object, product is one object, order is one object, event is one object. Data is nothing but it is a truth. It's a truth of information related to any particular object. That object can be a tangible object, and that object can be a non-tangible object. Tangible means which physically exists. Non-tangible means which physically does not exist. For example, person is a tangible object which we can touch, okay. Employee is a tangible object, physically exists. Product, which physically exists. Order, we cannot touch that order. We cannot touch the order. It is a non-tangible. Event is a non-tangible. For example, if you consider one object called person object, data is nothing but it's a fact of information. It's a truth. For example, if you take a person object and if you consider one person, person one, so Madhu is the name of that person. Yes, it is a fact that the name of that person is Madhu. It's a fact. Madhu is its name. Male is his gender. So and so is his mobile number. MCA is his qualification. This is the data related to that person one of person object. For example, similarly, okay, consider another person of the same object. That is person two. Naresh is its name. Yes, it's a fact. It's a truth. The name of that person is Naresh. Male is his gender. So and so is his mobile number. MTech is his qualification. So this is data related to that person too. For example, if you consider another person of the same object, person object, consider another person called person 3. Mary is the name of that person. Female is a gender. So and so is a mobile number. And MBA is a qualification. This is the data related to person 3. For example, consider another person, person 4. The data related to person 4. Data related to person 5. Data related to person 6. Data related to person 7. Data related to person 8. And so on. Wait 1 minute. I'm not some admitting and they're just leaving. 1 minute. Okay. So this is nothing but the data. Data is nothing but it's a fact of information related to any particular object. Okay. So this is the data related to person 1. This is the data related to person 2. This is the data. This is a fact of information related to person 3. Data related to person 4. Facts of information related to person 5, person 6, person 7, and so on. The collection of all the data when you put at one place is called a database. In simple words, database is nothing but it is a collection of all the data. Collection of all the data is called a database. Okay. These databases can be simple database. Rahul, you can remove the video. You can just record the video. Databases can be simple or databases can be more complex. But nowadays, in every business, databases are not simple. Databases are complex with large amount of data, with huge amount of data, and with very complex structures. Because, okay, so database plays a very important role in today's world. So every business treats data as like a more than like a diamond. Because without data, okay, so they cannot improve the sales. They cannot improve their business. They cannot compete with their competitors. Based on the data that they have, okay, so they will be improving their business and okay, they will compete with their competitors. These databases can be simple, or for example, this is a simple database with only 3 records of information. There is data related to Madhu, data related to Naresh, data related to Mary. For example, only 3 records. This is also a database. Collection of all the data is called a database. That's it. The databases can be simple with only 3 records. For example, data related to person 4, data related to person 5, data related to Naveen, data related to Rahul, data related to Mamta, data related to Anisha, data related to Ramesh. So this is called a database. Collection of all the data is called a database. Or if you want to store my data, as I told you, SQL Server is a software which helps us to store our data. For example, if this is a simple database, so why I wanted to, okay, why I want to download and install SQL Server software, I can store, manually in register or in a notepad application, or I can store the simple databases in Excel. Why I want the complex software called SQL Server, why I want Oracle, why I want MySQL, why I want Redshift database, why I want DB2, why I want Teradata. If the database is very simple, okay, so I will not require this kind of software. I can store the data in Excel or Notepad. Storing and maintaining the data in files is called file processing system. Storing and maintaining the data in files is called as a file processing system. That is, if you store the data in Excel, yes, okay, that way of storing the data is called file processing system. So in file processing systems, okay, so we can maintain a simple databases like this with 10,000 records or with 70,000 records or like that. But okay, so it is very hard to maintain large amount of data in file processing system. It is very hard for us to maintain large amount of data, okay, in files such as Notepad or Excel or any text editor. So yet today's businesses, databases are not simple. Databases are very, very complex with large amount of data and with complex structures. So in order to maintain the large amount of data, it is very, very difficult and it is very hard for us to maintain, store, and maintain the data in files. Not only large amount of data, it is very hard and difficult okay, to store and manage, but also it has several other disadvantages as well. Okay, this if you store the data in Excel or if you store the data in Notepad, it does not perform any validations. It does not perform any validations. For example, I'm storing the data about my friends. For example, Mother is my friend, Naresh is my friend, Mary is my friend, Gita is my friend. These are the details I wanted to store, okay, in Excel or Notepad. So if you look at the gender of Gita, it is stored as Z. Gender cannot be Z, right? The gender can be either a male or female. Or if you want to store the transgenders, yes, transgender. But the gender cannot be Z. That is, if you're trying to store the data in Notepad or Excel, whatever the data that we enter will happily accept all that. but gender cannot be set. And if you look at the gender of David, it is stored as A. Gender cannot be A. The value for the gender column should be either M, either F, or T. That's it. Only 3 possible values. Other than that, it should not allow other values like A, B, C, D, like that. That is, it does not perform any validation. So if the data is not correct, it will not be useful for the business in any ways. It will not be useful for the business. For example, if the company want to analyze the data, so that is what, that is the reason why the company will store the data to analyze, to understand the data. How many total customers have visited their store during the last month? How many male customers and how many female customers? This is what they want to understand the data. Based on their understanding, the data, so they want to do some analysis through various reporting tools. For example, if you store the data like, so there are, for example, 8 employees. Out of total employees, if I want to know how many males are there, males are 2, and females are 3. And what about other 3 employees? Out of total employees, males are 2 and females are 3. What about the other 3 employees? Shall I treat as a male or female? So for all the 3 employees, the gender is stored as A, B, C. How I should treat, whether I should treat them as a male or female. If the data is stored like this, it will not help the business. It will go to wrong analysis. It will lead to wrong analysis if the data is not correct. If it leads to wrong analysis and take the business decision on the wrong analysis, instead of getting the profit, they lose the business. That is the reason why the data in the database should be correct, it should be accurate, complete, it should be well organized. And if you look at the mobile number of Geeta, it is stored as 9898. The mobile number cannot be 3-digit. It should be 10-digit plus. It should be 10 digits. It is not integrated properly. Data is not integrated properly. If you store the data in notepads or in files, such as notepad or Excel or whatever, it will accept whatever we enter. The data is not integrated, and there's a data dependency. And it's very hard to access if the data is split across different worksheets or different Excel files or different multiple files. It's very hard to access. For example, if you look at the qualification of David, it is stored as A, B, C, D. Qualification cannot be this kind of stupid value, right? Qualification cannot be a stupid value. Qualification should be MCA, MTech, BTech, MCom, BCom, or whatever. But this kind of stupid values, cannot have any qualification column. ABCD is not a qualification. It is so these are the disadvantages if you try to store and maintain the data in file processing system like Excel or Notepad. So these are the disadvantages. And data is very, very important for the business. Data may be sensitive, data may be confidential. It should be safe and it should be secured all the time. Not everyone should be able to view all the data. Only some specific people only should be able to view the data, not everybody. So these are the disadvantages. So in order to overcome the disadvantages of file processing system, in order to overcome all the disadvantages of file processing system, a new system is evolved. A new system is evolved in 1960s. In order to overcome the disadvantage of file processing system, a new system is involved. New way of managing the data, storing the data is evolved in 1960s. That system is called DBMS, Database Management System. In short, very popularly, it is called as DBMS. So this is a very, very complex software system. So which overcomes all the limitations of file processing system, whatever the disadvantages that are there in file processing system, so that the database management system will overcome all that disadvantages. So this is a software which helps in storing our data, generating our data, and maintaining the databases. And also, not only defining the databases or maintaining the data in the database or managing the data or enforcing the business rules. Very, very important is that it helps in get the data from the system. Getting the data from the system is very, very important. Because most of the times, the business will interested in getting the data from the database. Most of the times, the business wanted how many total sales happened during last week? What are the total sales for the last month? What are the total sales in Bangalore branch? What are the total sales today in Delhi branch? How many customers have visited in that particular branch? And out of that, how many males have visited? How many females have visited? Is there any transgenders visited to my store today? All that, So the business, most of the time, business wanted to get the data from the database. What is the total sales for the, so during last year Sankranti season, so is the increase in the sales this year Sankranti season or decrease? But they wanted to compare how many customers visited during last year's Sankranti season and during this year's Sankranti season. They wanted to do this. Most of the times, the business always wanted to get the data from the system. So this is very, very important. Data will be populated, no problem. Once the structures are created, data will be populated from various devices. Like data will be populated from the websites. Data will be populated from the mobile devices, the mobile applications. Data will be populated to jobs in like data loading. But most of the times, business wanted to look at the data, what is there inside my database. I want to get the data from the database. So this is a software which helps in effectively and efficiently get the data from the database. And more importantly, it protects our database. It keeps our data safe. That is, it protects our database from hardware failures and from unauthorized access. That is, for example, the system corrupts. Suddenly, system failures. Database admits that people who are responsible in restoring the data. So this DBMS software helps in easy restoring of the data. And and this database can only be accessed by only authorized and authenticated people. Only authorized people only could able to view the data or connect to the data by authenticating with the username and the password. So this is about the DBMS. And there are different types of DBMS, like HDBMS, network DBMS, relational DBMS. So what is the different type? What is the difference between all these types of DBMS? I don't understand. Because DBMS is the system which helps in storing the data. That's it. All are used to store the data. But what is the difference between these types of DBMS? What is HDBMS? What is network DBMS? And what is relational DBMS? What is the difference between all these different types of DBMS? All are used to store the data, no doubt. But the difference is in how the data is represented. There's only one difference. They're different only one way. That is how the data is represented. For example, if you look at directly, if in this type of RDB, in this type of DBMS, the data is represented in a tree-like structure. In network DBMS, the data is represented in terms of nodes. But this is not our scope of understanding. This is not our scope of understanding. We need to understand, okay, our scope of understanding is how the data is represented in relational DBMS. Our scope of understanding is only how the data is represented in RDBMS. Because SQL Server is a type of RDBMS software. We are learning SQL Server. It is a type of RDBMS software. Our scope of understanding is only that how the data is represented in relational database management systems. In short, it is called RDBMS. So how the data is represented? The data is represented in terms of relations. That is, in terms of tables. In terms of tables. That is how the data, for example, if you want to store the data in Excel, how the data is represented? The data is represented in a two-dimensional format. There is rows and columns. For example, if you want to store the data in Excel, how you store the data in Excel? First of all, you'll be opening the Excel, and in the worksheet, so that is you'll be storing our data. For example, I want to store the name of my friend. I want to store the gender of my friend. Okay, I want to store the mobile number of my friend. Okay, I want to store the date of birth of my friend. I want to store the email of my friend. For example, these are the pieces of information that you wanted to store. So this is how you'll be storing. Okay, these are the pieces of information that I'm interested about my friends, about my customers. If, for example, the name of my first friend is Madhu, the gender is male, and so is his mobile number, date of birth is so and so, and the email ID is so and so. For example, the name of my other friend is Ramya, whose gender is female, and so is a mobile number, and so is a date of birth, and so is my email ID. For example, the name of my other friend is Naveen, okay, the gender is male, and so is his mobile number, and so is the date of birth, and so is. So this is how you store the data in Excel. This is how the data is represented in Excel. That is, the data is represented in a table of format. That is, this is looking like a table of format. Okay, there is one dimension is column. These are the columns, and these are the rows. In RDBMS also, the data is represented in terms of relations. Relation is a mathematical term, but when you come to the database terminologies, we'll be calling it as a table. There is in relational RDBMS softwares, how the data is represented in Excel in a similar manner. Okay, in RDBMS software, the data is represented in the form of tables. This data is represented in a two-dimensional format. Data is represented in a two-dimensional format. There is one dimension is rows, and another dimension is columns. Rows and columns. Okay, so this is how the data is represented in any RDBMS software. Okay, so that is in any RDBMS software. So all this is theoretical, don't worry about all this. Okay, there is worry about only this point. That is in RDBMS, whatever the data that you store will be stored in terms of tables, in terms of relations. That is nothing but rows and columns. Table has two dimensions. Rows, one dimension is rows, another dimension is for columns. The data is stored in a tabular format or a rectangular format. Hence, storing the data in RDBMS is simple in structure. It is very simple in structure, rows and columns, only 2 dimensions. Hence, in RDBMS, the structure is very flexible and very simple. It is very easy to use and very easy to learn and very easy to represent the data in RDBMS kind of software. There is SQL Server is a type of RDBMS software. That is, if you want to store the data in SQL Server database, how you represent the data in form of, how you store the data in Excel. In the same way, we'll be storing the data in SQL Server also in a tabular format. So that storing and maintaining the data in tabular formats like this. So these databases are called as relational databases. That is what the data that is stored in terms of tabular format, in terms of tables. Whatever the data that you're storing, okay, in the form of table, in the form of tabular format, okay, those databases are called as relational databases. So this is a relational database. This is a relational database because the data is represented in the form of table. Whatever the data that you represent in the form of table, those databases are called as relational databases. RDBMS is one kind of one kind of DBMS, one type of DBMS where all the data in that RDBMS software should represent in 2 dimensions. And whatever the data that you're representing in 2 dimensions are called as relational databases. That is, we need to clear up this concept. What is DBMS? What is RDBMS? What are relational databases? We need to get clarity. We need to first understand the concept terms thoroughly. DBMS is a type of is a way to manage our data. It helps in storing our data. This is a software which helps in creating the databases. And RDBMS is one type of DBMS where the data is represented in a tabular format. And whatever the data that you represent in a tabular format, those type of databases are called as relational databases. So this is what you need to differentiate between all these things. Okay, understood? Any doubts? Anybody? Is it clear? Yes, please, Rahul. Mamta. Hello. Any doubts, Mamta? Is it clear? Could you please answer? Rahul? Yes, Rahul. Are you there or not? Okay. So there are hundreds of RDBMS softwares available in the market. There are different RDBMS software available in the market today. SQL Server is one of the RDBMS software. Oracle is an RDBMS software. DB2 is an RDBMS software. Teradata is an RDBMS software. MySQL also is an RDBMS software. So there are hundreds of RDBMS software available in the market. But it's just a product of different companies. That's it. SQL Server is a product of Microsoft. Oracle is a product of Oracle Corporation. DB2 is a product of IBM Company. Teradata is a product of Teradata Corporation. MySQL is a product of MySQL app. All are RDBMS software only. In all the softwares, the data is represented in a tabular format only. The only thing is that it's a product of a different company. Most of the people think that, what is SQL Server and what is MySQL, what is SQL? They could not able to differentiate between all this. SQL Server is a software. MySQL also is a software. Whereas SQL is a language. We'll understand that. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so SQL Server is a software, and Oracle is also a software. What type of software? It is RDBMS type of software. DB2 is also software. Teradata is also software. MySQL is also software. How? Excel is a software. Similarly, so these are all softwares. These are all RDBMS types of softwares. Informatics, Sybase, DB2, Informatics, Redshift, MariaDB, PostgreSQL. So there are hundreds of RDBMS software available in the market. Okay, we have picked the popular one. So this SQL Server and Oracle are the popular RDBMS software. That is, most of the businesses in the market will use this software, SQL Server or Oracle. So these are competitors. SQL Server is a competitor, Microsoft, and Oracle is a competitor to one another. Okay, in their RDBMS software like SQL Server and Oracle. So we have picked the popular one, and we are learning, the top software. So which is the Microsoft technology? I'm interested in Microsoft technology. I'm interested in working with Microsoft technologies. So that's the reason I've selected SQL Server. If you learn SQL Server, working with other RDBMS software, it becomes very simple. We can easily, comfortably work with any RDBMS software. So once you're perfect in any one RDBMS software, for example, if you're perfect in this Oracle, you can easily, comfortably work with SQL Server database also. If you're perfect in DB2, you can manage, you can comfortably work with SQL Server, you can comfortably work with Oracle, you can comfortably work with Teradata. The only thing is that there will be some extra features, that's it, from product to product. Because in order to stay in the market, they need to compete with their competitors. Okay, it is This is about the different RDBMS software. So we have picked one of the RDBMS software, to understand and work with the database. Okay, so now there are different versions of SQL Server software. So we picked our choice of learning, is SQL Server. So we'll be very anxiety once we want to download the software. What is the current version? Okay, so as I told you, so this SQL Server software is a product of Microsoft, which is developed when? Which is developed in 1989. With the first version as SQL Server 1.0. And later it comes with another version, with version 1.1, 4.2a, 4.2b, and so on. And 2012, 2014, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, 20. But most of the businesses still use the version, SQL Server 2018. 2018 or 19, the latest in the business. And we'll be understanding the SQL Server software, so which are from 2012. What are the features that are there from 2012? We'll be understanding, all the features. And from 2017 version of SQL Server, so this software, whatever the versions that are released after 2017, that is 2018 version, 2019, 2020, there is so this software can also be installed on a Linux platform also. What are the versions that are before 2017? So this software, this versions of SQL Server software can only be installed on Windows operating system only. But with the release of 2017 version of SQL Server can also be installed, on Windows operating system and also in Linux platform. Okay, so now, okay, we learned what is SQL, what is SQL Server, what is database, what is file processing system, okay, what is DBMS, and what are the different types of DBMS. And we have understood about relational databases. We have understood about the different software available in the market and the different versions. So now, what is the purpose of okay? So why we have why we wanted to learn SQL Server? Because in order to store our data. So now, in order to store our data, we have decided that I want to store all my data in SQL Server. I've decided that okay, I want to store all my data in SQL Server. If you want to store the data in SQL Server, I need that software. I need that software. For example, if you want to store your data in Excel, you need to have an Excel software. Similarly, if you want to store the data in Oracle, you need to have an Oracle software. If you want to store the data in Notepad, you need to have the Notepad software. Similarly, I've decided that I want to store my data in SQL Server database. I want to store all my data in this software. So I need to have this software. I want this software. In order to install this software, okay, where I can download that file, where I can download that file and install on my system. And in order to install the software, in order to download the software, do I need to pay any money? Is it cost? No. The Express edition of SQL Server is freely available. If you want to learn and if you want to work with SQL Server database software, no need to pay any money. It is available for free. So this Express edition of SQL Server is available for free. You can download the software from the internet. You can download the software from the internet. There is the Express edition of SQL Server software is available for free. Example, just open the Google, the browser window, and just type SQL Server, which version of SQL Server you want to download. Example, just type I want to download the SQL Server at 2012 Express Edition, or 2014 Express Edition, or 2016 Express Edition. There is Express Edition of SQL Server is freely available. So when you want Enterprise Edition, it's not required for our purpose. It is not required. It is required for big businesses. This license for that you need to pay money. But in order to get familiar with SQL Server, in order to work, in order to learn SQL Server, the Express edition of SQL Server you can freely download and install in our system. So once you search for this term, the very first link it shows up is the official website of Microsoft, responding to the official website of Microsoft. So where you select this link, click on this official link, and it redirects to the download center page. So it is opening up the download center page of Microsoft, where you can download this software. Where you can download this software. This software is available in multiple languages. The software is available in English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, and so on. Before clicking on download button, I want my software in English. Before clicking on download button, check your system requirements. In order to work with SQL Server software, what configured system I should have? What should my system configurations? It requires, in order to work with SQL Server software, no need to have a very high-end configured system. It is enough to have a operating system starting from Windows 7. And the processor that you require is Intel processor with 1 gigahertz and a minimum RAM of 512 MB RAM and a 5.2 GB of hard disk space. So these are the minimal system requirements. This is not high-end configured system requirements. Every system will have this minimum requirements. So nowadays, it's very, very minimum. That is, in order to work with SQL Server software, no need to have a very high-end system with with very big money. Yes, okay. So no need to have a very high-end system. So once you select this, check this system requirements. Yes, you'll be definitely having the system requirements. Okay, in your system because it is a very, very minimal configured requirements. So once you click on download button, so once you click on download button, so there are multiple files that you can see. So which file I need to download? Which file I need to download? It is really based on your type of operating system. That is, if your operating system is 32-bit operating system, select the file which contains x86 in it. If your operating system is 32-bit operating system, select the file which contains x86. And if your operating system is 64-bit operating system, select the file which contains x64. Please, okay, which file I need to download? It depends on the type of your operating system. If your operating system is 32-bit operating system, select the file with the name as x86. If your operating system is 64-bit operating system, select the file with the name contains x64. So now how I can check my system type, whether my system is 32-bit or whether my system is 64-bit. You can just type for your system information by searching in a search bar. So just select system information. So where all my system details will be displayed. What is the name of my operating system? What is the version of my operating system? And here you can find your system type. My operating system is a 64-bit operating system. So since my operating system is 64-bit operating system, I should download the file which contains x64. So here I'm confusing. That is, here this file contains x64 and this file also contains x64. Which one I need to download? And this file also contains x64. Multiple file contains x64. Which one I wanted to download? Select the appropriate one. Since my operating system is 32-bit operating of 64-bit operating system, I need to select the file. I need to download the file which contains x64. So there are multiple files with the names x64 in it. So select the file with the name SQL Express Advanced. Okay, SQL Server Express Advanced version. So just check mark on this. And whatever the file that you select here, all will be listed in the download summary. But I don't want. Why you wanted to waste unnecessary space? So just so just download the required one. So once you take this, once you select this exe file, you just click on download button. So once you click on next button. So once you click on next button, so this file will be downloaded in your downloads folder. Once that file is downloaded, okay, so now I wanted to install. Now I wanted to install this database, the software. So installing of the software, installing of SQL Server software, I'm telling you, it's very, 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 very easy. Installation of the software is very, although SQL Server is a very complex software system, okay, installation of SQL Server software is very, very easy. Here, I've downloaded this file. Okay, so this is a exe file. So this is a software that I've downloaded. So where it is. This is a file that I've downloaded, SQL Express Advanced. Okay, so once you download, so once you double click on this, okay, so installation, okay, if you want to install, so just double click on that exe file. And okay, as I told you, the installation of SQL Server software is very, very easy. How you install Google Pay application in your mobile? It's very simple, right? In order to install Google Pay or Phone Pay or Amazon or Flipkart or Meesho, unless if you want to install any application on your mobile, it is very, very easy. Just select the option, click on next, 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 and finally finish. That's it. Okay. This installation of SQL servers also is very, very simple. It's very, very simple. Just select the option, click on next, 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 and finally finish. That's it. That much simple the installation of SQL Server is. But there are some important, okay, so there are some important screens, okay, that we need to understand, that we need to keep in mind in order to install. While installing the SQL Server software, there are some important screens. It is just a series of wizards. Installation, okay, it's very, very simple. It's just a series of windows, okay, where you select the option and click on next button. Okay, but there are two important screens which are very, very useful. Which is okay, it should we should okay understand that two important screens that appears during the installation. Okay, so now, okay, for example, let's understand. So 1 minute. So just I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay, fine. So once you download this file, Okay, so in order to install, so just double click on that file. Just double click on that file to install. The very first screen that appears is this is the first screen that appears. So just okay, select the link, click on the link, new SQL Server standalone installation. So select this option, select this link. And once you select this link, okay, once you click on this link, okay, several Microsoft updates will be performed. So just click on next. And the next screen that appears is a product update. Just click on next. And next, initial setup files. Okay, it will install all the setup files required, and it will install all the rules, installation types. Click on next. Product type. Click on next. License terms. Click on next. And once it comes to the feature selection screen, so here we need to check mark. We need to check mark. We need to select the feature called database engine services. We need to select this feature. We need to check mark. We need to select this service. The skill server is a multiple component software. It contains analysis services, it contains reporting services, it contains many components. But in order to work with the database, it is enough to have the database engine services. So once you select this option, okay, once you check mark on this, click on next button. So once you click on next, the very important two screens that I was talking about is, these are the two screens which I was talking about. Instance configuration screen and the database engine configuration screen. There is here, first of all, what is an instance? And here we can be able to see the two types of instances. In the step 3 screen, in the instance configuration screen, there is there are two types of instances: default instance and named instance. First of all, what is an instance? And what are the two types of instances? We'll understand that. So, for example, if I ask you, can anybody tell me how many times we can install SQL Server software on the same machine? How many times we can install? Can anybody answer? Any guess? For example, if you want to install Google Pay on your phone, how many times you can install?
Only once we can.
Only once. Very good, Rahul. This is what I wanted. I want the sessions to be interactive. That is, we can install Google Pay or Phone Pay only one time. But SQL Server software can be installed multiple times on a single machine. We can install SQL Server multiple times on a single machine. There is each installation of SQL Server software is called an instance. For example, if you're double clicking on this file, for example, okay, you're double clicking on this setup file, downloaded file. You're installing for the first time. There is the first time installation. You can install for the second time also. That is called another instance. And if you want to install for the third time, so just install it for the third time, no problem. You can install the same software multiple times on a single machine. Each instance of SQL Server software is called an instance. You can install SQL Server multiple times. Yes, up to 50 times you can install. Each installation of SQL Server software is called an instance. For example, if you're installing for the first time, that is instance 1. If you're installing for the second time, that is instance 2. If you're installing for the third time in the same system, that is instance 3. If you're installing for the fourth time, that is instance 4. Yes, you can install multiple times. Up to how many times? The max. That is, you can install same software up to 50 times you can install. You can install SQL Server software up to 50 times. Two types of instances, default instance and named instance. So what is default instance and what is named instance? Default instance is nothing but there's no name to that instance. No name. Instance without any name. Named instance means if you select named instance, so then we need to give some name to that instance. Default instance means no name. Named instance means instance which has some name. So this is the difference between default instance and named instance. Default instance means no need to give a name. Name, okay, without, okay, baby without a name. Named instance means baby which having some name. So this is called default instance and named instance. And out of multiple instances, you can have only one default instance, at most one default instance. All the instances should be named instance only. That means you can have only one default instance. All can be named, not a problem. Default instances can be 0 or only 1. On a single machine, if you want to install, for example, 5 times the same software, yes, you can install. And out of 5 times, 5 installations, 5 instances, okay, if you all can be named, all 5 can be named. But if you want to have a default instance, there's only one default instance. That's it. That means there should only one baby without a name. There should be only one baby without a name. All babies should be named. And each instance is independent on others. That is, okay, the data that is stored in one instance is completely independent on the data that is stored in another instance. The only common thing is that they share the same CPU resources and the memory, because all are used, all our instances are in the same system. So that is the reason why they share the same CPU resources and the memory. But don't worry if you do not understand this concept. Okay, I have a very good pictorial diagram to make you understand this concept much better. Okay, so don't worry if you not understood this concept. Okay, so in a very 5 minutes, we'll be understanding that concept very clearly. And what is the next screen? Once you click on next, once you select the instance named instance or default instance, okay, then once you click on next, next database agent configuration screen. You also there area called authentication mode area, where there are two types of authentication: Windows authentication mode and mixed mode authentication. First of all, what is authentication? Authentication is that is not how we want to connect, how we authenticate ourselves. In order to connect to this particular database engine, how we want to authenticate. For example, if you select Windows authentication, so we can connect by providing Windows username and Windows password. If we select mixed mode authentication, which is not to, for instance, we can connect by providing Windows credentials or by providing SQL Server credentials. Okay, there is okay. There is these two types of authentication. Windows, there is okay. Windows. If you select Windows authentication, that is in order to connect to that particular database engine, we should connect by providing Windows credentials. And if you select mixed mode authentication, then in order to connect to that particular instance of SQL Server, we can connect by providing Windows credentials or by either by providing SQL Server credentials. Okay, so this is what authentication means. This is what the importance of these two screens during installation. And once you click on next, and finally it will be completed. This is what the instance and okay, authentication screens. So yeah, okay, if you do not understand this concept, I told you, I have a good circle diagram to make you understand this concept thoroughly. For example, here, this is my computer. The name of my computer is Madhu. The name of my computer is Madhu. See, I've installed SQL Server software in my system. On this particular system, I've installed SQL Server 3 times. This is instance 1, this is instance 2, this is another instance. Yes, I can install the same software multiple times. Each installation of the software is called an instance. This is one instance, this is one instance, and this is another instance. And if you look at this, there is no connection between one instance to another instance. There is no connection. It is completely independent. It is completely independent. There is no connection between with one instance to another instance. There is no connection at all. There is the data that you store in one instance is completely independent on the data that you store in this instance and the data that you store in this instance. Since there is no connection between one instance to another instance, okay, so it is independent. Okay, it is independent. The only common thing is that they share the same CPU resources because all are installed on the same machine. So that is the reason why. Okay, so they share the same CPU resources. But that one instance of SQL Server is completely independent on the data that you store in another instance. Okay, so what is the purpose of installing SQL Server software multiple times? That is, I want to maintain a different environmental data. That is, all the data related to development environment in this instance, all the data related to testing environment in this instance, all the data related to production environment in this instance. That is, I wanted to use the same system. I wanted to use only one system to act for a different environment data. That is, this is for testing development environment, all the data related to testing environment here, and all the data related to production environment in this instance. Okay, so this is what the instance means. That is, during first time installation, I've selected the named instance. That is, if you select the named instance, you need to give some name. That is, we are given the name as my practices. And the authentication I've selected is Windows authentication. That is, in order to connect to this, in order to work with this instance, we need to authenticate by providing Windows username and Windows password. For example, second time I've installed. So double click on this setup file, exe file. Second time I've installed. Yes, I can install for the second time also. This is another instance. And during this installation, I've selected the instance type as default instance. That means if you select default instance, no need to give any name. And the authentication mode I've selected is mixed mode authentication. That is, in order to work with the data that is stored in this instance, we can connect by providing SQL Server credentials or by providing Windows credentials. Because at the time of installation, I've selected the authentication mode as mixed mode authentication. And again, I've installed for the third time. Yes, I can install. Here, I need to select named instance. I need to forcibly select named instance only. Why? because default instance is already over. In one system, we can have only one default instance. All can be named, not a problem. But there can be only one default instance. During that time installation, I forcibly need to select named instance only. And if I select the named instance, that is, I need to provide the name to that instance. I have given the name as my project. And okay, during this installation, I select the mode as mixed mode authentication. That is, now to connect this particular instance of SQL Server, so we need to authenticate by providing Windows credentials or by providing SQL Server credentials. So once you install this, the installation is completed. Now the next step is that I wanted to connect to this instance. I want to work with the data that's stored in this instance, or I want to work with the data that's stored in this instance, or I want to connect to this database instance. How I can connect? Once you download the software, so that is, I need to open a, for example, once you install Excel, I need to open it. This is how I can connect to this database engine. I want to store all my data in this instance, or I want to get all my data from this instance, or I want to get all my data from this instance. That is, I will need to connect to the database engine. How do I connect to that particular instance? We'll be understanding. Okay, so once we are back at 10 o'clock. Okay, let's take a break. Okay, so now, okay, please download and install the SQL Server software as a practice for now. Okay, let's take a break and we'll connect at 10 o'clock. So by 10, okay, so that is, you do the exercise now to download in this time. Okay, so in this time, okay, so do download and install the software in your system. Got it, Rahul? Got it, Mamta?
Yes.
Okay, so it will take around 20-25 minutes. Okay, we'll connect at 10 o'clock again in the same link. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay, that's part of the exercise. So just download it and okay, so install the SQL Server software on your system. So it is required. Okay, it is okay. First thing, in order to work with, we need to have that software. So just as part of the exercise for now, okay, just download and install the software, and let's connect at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.